The International Criminal Court says that South Africa will still be held accountable for not handing over Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir, even if it decides to remove its signature from the court.
Senior ANC officials now say the International Criminal Court has lost its direction, that it's trampling over human rights for selfish interests, and that South Africa is working out how to remove its signature from the court's founding document, the Rome Statute.
The NGC has just resolved that South Africa should withdraw from the International Court. However, only after we have followed certain processes. One, the reasons and the motivations that we ought to share with the rest of the continent as to why we think the court is no longer fulfilling its mandate.
South Africa is locking horns with the court over a situation in which ICC indicted Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir was not arrested when he visited an AU summit in Johannesburg in June.
If a state deposits a notice that they are withdrawing from the ICC Rome Statute, this withdrawal doesn't take effect until 1 year at least after this deposit. But even after the withdrawal becomes effective, still that does not affect any obligations that has been raised before this date. So again, a withdrawal cannot affect past obligations or ongoing proceedings.
The court has long been accused of holding a bias against Africa. Everyone who's ever stood in its docks has been African.
Many African states are full, fervent supporters of the International Criminal Court. And as they often say, Senegal was the first country that ratified the Rome Statute. It's really been a push also from the African countries to have a good ICC in place. So I don't see a mass withdrawal simply because South Africa decides to withdraw.
Tensions are now only likely to be flared further after the ANC said President al-Bashir can return to South Africa to attend an Africa-China cooperation summit in December. The Assembly of ICC States Parties is meeting at its highest level in The Hague in November. South Africa potentially becoming the first country to remove itself from the court is likely to make it a defining conference for the future of the International Criminal Court. Jack Parrick, SABC News, Brussels.
Staying with that story, there has been mixed reaction across the political spectrum over the government's intention to review its membership of the International Criminal Court.
The government has been embroiled in controversy since it allowed President Bashir, who attended the AU summit, to leave South Africa. President Bashir is currently wanted by the ICC on charges of war crimes and genocide. The court order prohibiting President Bashir from leaving South Africa was issued after a legal rights group filed an urgent application to force South Africa to detain him. The ANC's Fourth National General Council resolved to review the country's membership of the International Criminal Court, a decision which can only be implemented when it has exhausted all channels related to the ICC. Domestically, however, the government faces pressing questions over its decision.
We, as the majority party in Parliament, will stand ready to ensure that an appropriate legislative process is put in place to unsign South Africa from this ICC.
We are very, very concerned at this resolution, particularly as it demonstrates the country's move away from foreign policy based on human rights.
EFF does not support ICC because we feel that ICC is only dealing with African leaders. But for ANC to say they are going to rush and pull out, I think is not a calculated move, because we feel that each and every system that is not progressive, we must fight within.
We are not altogether comfortable, with the decision because of the way it has come about that South Africa has taken this decision.
By doing this, we're sending a very bad message to the rest of the world that we are moving away from human rights, something like Mr. Mbeki tried to do. The implications can be that our very good arguments for South Africa and Africa to be part of the Security Council of the United Nations, that is very damaging for that type of argument.
South Africa has taken the AU position that its members should speak with one voice against the prosecution of sitting heads of states by the ICC.
Should South Africa withdraw from the ICC, it doesn't have too many implications in terms of how South Africa could operate domestically. However, the real issue here is in terms of promoting and protecting human rights on the African continent. And a withdrawal by South Africa will be a reflection of not supporting an institution that is geared towards promoting those human rights.
The African Union remains steadfast in its position that the ICC investigations into African states are a problem. Lehana Tsotetsi, SABC News, Johannesburg.